the most gold records of any musical act in history.
Yeah. Number one gold album band in American band. Yeah.
And that to qualify for that, that's 44 albums, all of which made it to gold status.
I have no idea. I was just blessed to get a second album.
Yeah.
I mean, after the first album, it was traumatic. It was like, how am I ever going to do another album? So I lost count, but it's been amazing.
Wasn't the first album, you had a record deal with a different band?
Yes.
What was that band?
Wicked Lester.
Yeah, Wicked Lester.
That was Gene and me.
So you got a record deal with a band named Wicked Lester,
yeah.
and did one album, and then just got out of the contract.
Well, we did the album. It never got released. It really was not a good album. We had spent about a year doing it, and we were young. We were real green, and somebody took us in the studio, and it was basically. We did the album on something called spec time. You basically, you're told when the band or the artist that's before you should be done. So you wait in the lobby, and if they're done on time, you run in and you get to work. And we would work through the night, but really the music was unfocused. It took a year to do the album by doing it like that, and if an album or if a single was out and somebody played a banjo, let's put a banjo on. And if there was one with a kazoo, hey, let's put a kazoo on. So it wasn't a great album, and Gene and I just knew it wasn't what we should do. So it seemed out of our minds, but we said we're changing we're quitting the band because the other guys wouldn't leave the band. So we said, well, if you don't leave the band, we'll quit. So we quit, and that was Kiss. We put Kiss together.
It's awesome. The Kiss was formed in 1974. The first
73.
Okay.
73.
And is it true that you were a taxi driver in 1971?
Yes, I can show you my taxi driver license, which I still have on my phone if I ever need another job.
Aren't those expensive to get?
Yeah, like...
Are they?
The medallions?
Well, the medallions. Yeah, it's a sad story for people. I didn't have a medallion. I drove for a fleet. There I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long were you doing that for?
Probably a couple of years off and on. It was great back then because you really didn't have to... make any particular hours. You could show up. They just wanted the cars in the fleet to be out. So, I could work as long as I wanted to or as little as I wanted to. So, plus I've never been very good with bosses. So, I can tolerate somebody in the back seat for a little amount of time.
Do taxi drivers make good money?
Back then, you could hustle. And back then, usually there were wires underneath the car, under the dashboard for the light on top. And the way the taxi commission and the inspectors know that you have somebody in the car is the light goes out. So what we could do was we could disconnect the light under the dashboard so we could take people without putting the meter on.
Yeah.
And I made enough money. I just wanted guitars, and I wanted the kind of things that I needed to be in a band. So I would hustle, and it was good. The craziest thing was you get so into doing it because you're driving 9 hours a day. I remember going home and borrowing my parents' car and going into the city, and I'm driving on 6th Avenue. And somebody put their hand up, and I pulled over. And they're like, what the fuck, And, it was time to move on.
I heard a story that in 1971, you're driving a taxi past Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And, Elvis was performing.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to perform there.
Yeah. You got to, it's one thing to dream, but then you go, okay, how do I reach my dream? And it was more than I want to be something. It was like, 24/7, I was figuring out how to do it. But yeah, the story goes, and it's true, is I was driving my cab, and a couple got in, and they were going to the Garden to see Elvis Presley. And when we pulled up there, I was like, someday people are going to be here to see me. And it was only years late, a few years later, and it was me. And what was amazing was the last show at the Garden, the last two shows for the end of the road, just by coincidence, outside my dressing room was a picture of Elvis playing those shows.
In 1971.
Yeah, it was. I think he was playing. He played in '72, and I think that's when I drove the cab.
Now, when you said that, were you saying it to the passengers, or were you saying it to yourself?
I was saying it to myself. They could care less.
Yeah.
They're going to see Elvis, but they're going to listen to some stupid cab driver.
Yeah.
How do you get to that point? Is there like a mantra that you're constantly saying to yourself? Or do you have like vision boards when you go back to your place and you just meditate on that, being uber successful?
I mean, it's a great question. I think you have to come up with a strategy. Just wanting something is worthless. Mm-hmm. But planning how to get what you want, you've overcome challenges, and you have to commit yourself to it, and you go against the odds. It's easy to find people who tell you what's impossible. Those are always the people who failed. So, you want to put those people away. A lot of people, the worst thing that they can ever do is see you succeed when they didn't. So it can be a lonely road, when you want to do something, and people either don't want you to succeed or don't think you can. And in my case, wasn't very popular. I was deaf on one side. I had a birth defect. Like most of us, our families are kind of dysfunctional. And so I didn't have the biggest support group, but all that motivated me. Mm-hmm. We can find motivation in the worst circumstances. I want to get out of here, or, I want to show everybody that they're wrong or whatever. So, it's your dreams are only as good as how hard you're willing to work to achieve them. That's how you find out how important something is to you, by the sacrifices you're willing to make it happen.
Yeah. What did your family think of your dream of being a rock star?
Oh, isn't that cute? Stanley wants to be a rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they reached a point where it became scary because they saw that I was committed to it in a way I should have been committed. But, all the kids in the neighborhood were becoming doctors, and they were all studying for different things. And I've got my hair out, I remember the day I teased my hair out because it was real curly. And, I finally had that Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, big bouffant. And I walked through the living room, and my mom goes, "You're not going out like that." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I am." So, they saw I was either I was crazy in that I was really very focused on what I wanted to do. But that's scary as a parent. Your parents want you to succeed, or at least they want you to toe the line. They want you to stay focused and stay within those boundaries. And I was never one for boundaries, never one for following the status quo.
Was there a point when your parents kind of conceded that, hey, you haven't chosen the path that we would have chosen for you, but you're so committed, we want you to know that we pledge to support you?
No. What they did see was me succeed. I mean, they weren't a detriment. They weren't. Maybe they were trying to discourage me, but they weren't sabotaging me. But when you're sitting at Madison Square Garden, and your kid, has 8-inch heels on and tights and has a guitar between his legs, and the place is sold out, you got to go. Wow. I don't know that they thought it would last. And I think my dad's way of dealing with it was thinking I was lucky. You know, my dad was a very, very bright guy who didn't really know how to utilize his strengths to become successful. And I guess for him to deal with my success, the easiest way was to say, you're lucky, I wasn't. So, but after decades and decades, you know, it becomes clear that it's not a case of luck. You know, I've always thought luck is seeing opportunities where others don't.
It's been a long time since I gave you guys an update about my hot sauce, and I have big news. We are going into grocery stores because we've got a label without the word butthole on it. And I know that might be upsetting to a lot of you, but the butthole version is still available on Amazon. And we have a new flavor, Heavenly Jalapeno, which is ridiculously good. I mean, what can I say? I love my hot sauce, and I love it when you guys support it. So get it on Amazon, stevo.com, and soon enough in a grocery store near you. Thank you guys. I love you.